boomer.
That's boomer. That's real boomer, and that's my dad in the background being proud of me working for a great company like Bell. When you get in a job with benefits and a salary, and it's like a job for life, you just get complacent in that. If you're still in school, is as important or more important than your grades is the connections you make. There's still something within me that I just didn't feel like I fit in. And I knew I wanted my own business. You know, if it's dragging you down and getting you depressed, you got to get out of there. You know, sometimes the boomers look down on millennials as spoiled and entitled, but you know what? We're all entitled to happiness.
Do anything for the cash. Do anything for the cash.
Hi everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Today we have my dad, who is we're going to talk about like millennials versus boomers and how my dad feels about me quitting my job. So yeah, make sure you're subscribed if you're new. Thumbs up for my dad, and let's get into the video.
Let's go.
Okay, so I got some comments on my video about quitting my job saying that I was an entitled millennial and that I don't have a good work ethic, that I'm not, down to work hard enough. So I talked about that a little bit with my dad, and then we had the idea to talk about millennials versus boomer attitude in terms of like work and career. And also wanted to sort of talk to my dad about how he feels about me quitting my job and just answer some questions for him. So why don't you introduce yourself first?
I'm John, Zoe's dad. Pushing 60 this year, and I studied civil engineering at Western University. Graduated, went to work for Bell Canada, worked as a civil engineer / telecom engineer. I worked for Bell for about 14 years, and I left and started doing telecom consulting, formed my own company in Vancouver, and it was short-lived after 9/11. That was the death knell for a lot of telecom companies, especially consulting firms. So I drifted around renovating property for a while, and eventually organically started a property management business, which I incorporated in 2015. So since about 1997, I've been working on my own. I basically haven't had a job.
Yeah, and my dad's kind of a hippie guy, so he's not the most boomer out there, but that also probably reflects of why I make certain choices too, having him as an advisor. I'm
born in 1960, so that's like the tail end of the boomers, but I still feel it, and I know how my parents raised me and their attitudes towards having a job, especially for a big name company, and sticking with a job for life as your career, and the pride a parent feels and the pressure they put on their kids to have a good job and with a named company with security and benefits and that sort of thing. And a lot of pressure can come with that. And that actually affected a lot of my decisions. And when I wanted to quit my job and go out on my own, because I've always had that entrepreneurial spirit, not necessarily to make millions, but just to be on my own and be creative and eat what you kill, rather than just just depending on your salary.
Oh yeah. Or
getting used to having a salary and comfortable in that. There's a certain eat what you kill. You know what that means, right?
No.
That if you think of the cavemen, they didn't eat unless they went out and they killed something.
Oh yeah.
Right. Where when you get in a job with benefits and a salary and it's like a job for life, you just get complacent in that. Mm-hmm. And we all know, we're from Ottawa, so a lot of government workers and nothing wrong with that, of course, and we depend on them, but it's one of the most secure jobs that are out there, right? Yeah. And they have benefits and a decent salary, and there's a certain percentage who really get down with their job. They hate it, it's whatever, but they will not leave because there's a pension waiting for them at the end.
Yeah.
Eat what you kill is, you start your own business or you become a consultant and only work when the government or another organization hires you. You have to be on your toes. You have to save for the rough times, and it's very scary, and it's not for everyone.
Yeah.
But for those who can withstand that stress and pressure, there's the rewards in that too.
So it's fun. Yeah. So you were more like that, and my mom works at Bell, and she's worked there for like 30 years.
Yeah.
So I had both sides, and neither of you really put pressure on me to have like any certain kind of job. They never pressured me to, but I think a lot of young people, we still feel pressure, especially coming out of university, to go work for a big name because of like the status that comes with it. So, well, let's get into the questions that I have outlined. So first of all, what do you think of me quitting my big fancy job and please don't say the company name, at my Big Four consulting job?
Well, first of all, as a parent, it's like, oh no, like, how is she going to pay for that expensive apartment and eat, and how much does she want from me now? So there's just the initial concern, but when you look at your child, or just anyone who is not happy where they are, there's a concern for that too. So it's take a deep breath and kind of watch what's happening. And for my part, I wanted to look at you and wonder, okay, are you this spoiled kid who doesn't know better? And that is an initial reaction. Well, why don't
That's
you
what
just,
a lot of people said too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Suck it up and bear with it. But then you look behind that, and I know you like more than most, and I had to listen and keep my mouth shut and not panic, and just try to watch it and look at your happiness level. So
that's good for the next question. So I already know your answer to this, and I think it's kind of obvious, and like most people, well, I'll say the question first. What's more important, money and career progress and security, or happiness? And most people will just say happiness off the bat, but they wouldn't necessarily act in a way that prioritizes that. So how do you feel about that?
Well, the two are not necessarily in conflict.
No, but if it was between two, if it was like you can stay at this job that you hate, but you have like status from it and you have security, or you can, you're miserable, so you're like, forget this, I'm quitting.
Yeah, again, it isn't black and white. You could be in a job you hate, and there are certain things in your control. I think you briefly came up with a consulting job where a company from China was having you consult with people, and you can make the most of that. So a lot of it is just in here and in your head. You can, if you're the type of person who can make the best of that situation, and some people can't. If it's dragging you down and getting you depressed, you got to get out of there. And I think you got lucky, and not just lucky, but you actually made the effort, and you used your resources to find something different. So basically, you took the right path. And the other thing is, you thought what you thought. You talked to your friends. You talked to your parents, but you also saw a counselor who was neutral and helped you with that perspective.
Yeah, that's a good point to mention. I never mentioned that. She said she like took all the emotion out of it, and she said, don't quit until you find another job. That's what she told me. Yeah. So that's like good advice. Like, shouldn't
and
just
if
quit.
your parents tell you that, it's still coming from a point, even if it's completely right, there's still that emotion and the family dynamic and all that attached. Finding a coach, someone that you trust, but is also you feel that they're neutral, can be really helpful. And if only to validate what you're hearing from your friends or parents too. So to answer your question, I still don't think it's black and white. Happiness, it's very important. And can you be happy in that company? Maybe the first step is to search every avenue of how you can make a go of it. Mm-hmm. And you in that big corporation, a different boss or a different placement may have made a huge difference. You may still be there.
Yeah.
Right? You may somehow, some way, even if you knew,
or longer. I don't think it would have been longer, forever, but probably longer.
Because you might have known.
Yeah.
So I was in a company, and I can say I was with Bell Canada, and it was a great company. But there's still something within me that I just didn't feel like I fit in. And I knew I wanted my own business. I wasn't exactly sure what it was. I worked in construction a lot, so I knew it may have had something to do with that. But because of the benefits and the secure salary, and I was single and living a good lifestyle, I was traveling, I had friends, it took a bigger impetus for me to leave. In hindsight, I may have done it sooner, because the longer you stay with something, the more you have to lose.
Yeah.
Right? You've built up a pension, or you've built up your career, and maybe you've started a family or got committed in a relationship. So, all those things add to the necessity to stay in something. When you're young and free, well, you want to build up your experience, but on the other hand, you have less to lose, so it's easier to get out. And, all things came together for you.
Yeah.
It was your own work.
I think when you're about to make a decision, things I got lucky, but I think for people watching, you can get lucky too, because once you decide that's what you're going to do, you're going to put all of your energy into that direction. So.
Yeah. And I think what people should realize is that you did do the work even before you started in your first job.
Yeah.
You had networked, and through your schooling and the case competitions that you did, all that networking was work.
Yeah.
And you were able to revert back to that and go, oh, I remember meeting this person, that person, I'm going to reach out. So that's probably one of the more important things. If you're still in school, is as important or more important than your grades is the connections you make, because you never know the person sitting next to you or that you're having drinks with or going to parties with may be a resource for you, or you for them in the future.
Yeah. And
a lot of jobs and placements and even fun comes from that. So it's very important to make those connections.
And another tip on that is, when I started work, I felt like all of the connections I'd made would forget me, because I felt like starting work was like a clean slate. But if you're in a situation right now, starting work doesn't undo what you've done in the past. So you can still use those connections. I thought that there's no way these people would remember me, and they did. So,
and maybe another tip with that, just because you're into something new, the odd Christmas card or email, or get on to the same club or site where that person, even if you don't speak to them directly, you're liking their posts or something. Yeah. Remaining connected is important. Mm-hmm. And if you do it sincerely as well, that's even better, because then there's a real relationship there.
Yeah. Okay, we've got way off that question. Okay, answer just the next one really quickly. This is just for fun. What's more important, status or money?
Yeah, and it may be different from all.
For you, just for fun.
For me, it's money. Money. Yeah.
Cool. Just fun. Okay, what would you do? So put on your boomer hat. What would you do if you were in a job you hated? How long would you tough it out?
Well, for me, I toughed it out 14 years.
That's boomer.
That's boomer. That's real boomer, and that's my dad in the background being proud of me working for a great company like Bell. So it took that, and there was an incentive for me to go, and I took advantage of it. So that made it easier, and I was pretty much fed up and ready and more mature at that time too, and I felt I had options.
Do you think that the incentive appeared because you knew that you were going to leave?
No, the incentive was company-wide. In fact, they asked me to stay because I had a role there that they could have used at
Okay.
the time. But it was a blanket incentive for every employee. Jan Sneap, my friend, he had to take them to court to leave because they really wanted him to stay. So yeah, I was lucky, and I grew up in an era at the tail end, mind you, of when companies were still offering these incentives to downsize. They wanted their shareholders to see that they were strong. And by giving incentives to leave, then rather than having big layoffs, it made them look strong. So,
but I don't think any very millennial person, unless they had like their parents maybe forcing them to stay, I don't think anyone my age would stay 14 years. I don't think anyone my age like stays in a job 14 years.
It's completely different. Even back when I was graduating university, which was 1984, there was talk of future jobs lasting no more than 5 years. Even back then. And so that was the people who were in those kind of studies and people foreseeing the future. They were seeing it.
Yeah.
And I watched it over my career coming to fruition. But and it's there now for sure.
So, yeah, so that's definitely a generational difference. Okay, this next question. What do you think of millennials choosing happiness and like fulfillment over a traditional route? Do you think this is truly a millennial thing, or does it come from lessons from our boomer parents?
Yeah, it's probably a little both. Seeing parents suffer, for the sake of hanging on or whatever, and it goes for relationships and everything else. I think, sometimes the boomers look down on millennials as spoiled and entitled. But you know what? We're all entitled to happiness. And millennials as a group will figure out how to run their society so everybody's happy.
Yeah.
And if it's not dog eat dog, it can work and you can find a way.
What about going to law school and then saying F that and just becoming a yoga teacher? What do you think of? Do you think that's a millennial thing?
No. Some of my classmates, one in particular is a massage therapist, another's an investment banker. People go different ways, and I know a lot of social workers who took law, and the law degree helps them when they're helping their clients. So Vincent, the guy who runs the Airbnb business, he took a law degree but doesn't practice. He runs Airbnbs all over the place, so nothing wrong with that.
So it's not a generational thing.
Education is awesome, no matter how old you are or where you're at.
Cool. Okay, so I'll just maybe explain quickly. I think it's a really millennial thing, this hustle culture, which I don't know if you really got exposed to that, but it's a lot on social media. There'll be pictures of a nice car, and it'll say rise and grind, or every minute that you're not working, you're losing money, or you're losing. So what do you think of hustle culture and people saying, if you don't work hard, you're a loser, or if you don't want to work hard?
But that's always been there. That is not a millennial thing. That is when I grew up, advertisements, coaching, the self-help movement. It was always that, pyramid schemes. That's big with that, right?
Don't join a pyramid scheme because of coronavirus. Please do not join an MLM.
Yeah, some people can be very successful though. Certain types of people who know how to motivate others. I don't like it. I don't like it one bit. I've seen people be totally stressed out, lose their homes, lose their marriages through that kind of thing. But there's a small portion of our society, and basically it's people who know how to sell, who can be successful at anything. I'd rather more ethical pursuits.
Okay, so hustle culture is not new, but what do you think of it?
Can't stand it.
Cool. Yeah, I agree. I think it's really toxic. Okay. What is something that, a trait that boomers have over millennials? Something that boomers do better than millennials?
Geez, I don't know.
Okay, what about the opposite? Can you name something that millennials do better than boomers?
Oh, for sure. Fixing my phone, setting up my TV, putting an app on my phone, You just corrected something on the way here.
Oh, on Spotify.
On Spotify. So, yeah, that's for sure. But you know, your knowledge of technology can be really lucrative and just helpful for you. For me, the learning curve seems so much steeper. You know.
Yeah, because we grew up with it. That's all my questions.
That's it?
That's
okay, go forth and be happy, because that is imperative. And your happiness is important, but you can be happy and work your ass off too. In fact, sometimes that's
I think one leads to the other.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I think I'm too sensitive, and I take those comments like on my video maybe too much to heart. But a lot of people were saying, you're not right for this job. Like, you don't know how to work hard. But I think it's like, I would just rather work hard towards something that actually brings me happiness.
Yeah, and you come from a different perspective on that.
Yeah, and I think this gives you guys a good insight into like my mindset and the lessons I grew up hearing. Mm-hmm. And I always saw my mom hating her job. She would come home and complain every single day. And so I would always promise myself, I'm not going to be like that. And I was starting to become like that. After just 5 months, I was becoming like that.
Yeah, and my first reaction, honestly, was, oh, you spoiled brat, giving up this great job, and, but there's way more behind that. So the judgment you got to take with a grain of salt, because you're not a spoiled brat. You've worked hard for everything you've done. There's still those ingrained feelings, but I think you did well to seek out the advice and just didn't run off and do something without thinking about it.
I almost did.
So almost
did.
But you did listen to people, so good on you.
Thanks. Okay, thank you everybody for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed the video with my dad and his COVID hair. Make sure to give the video a thumbs up if you like it. Helps the algorithm and makes me happy. And make sure you're subscribed as well. I'll see you all in my next video. Bye.
Do anything for the